Hello, my name is Wade Von Garbage. I've been a comic book artist for over 30 years, and you may know my work from Starman, or Star Wars, or Spider-Man. And you're listening to 11 O'Clock Comics.
Hello folks, welcome to 11 O'Clock Comics, episode 1007. Thank you as always for joining us. I am one of your hosts. My name is David A. Price, and with me is...
everybody's favorite flying silent warrior, Arzak.
Not that silent. You are not Arzak. You are none other than Jason Wood. Great to see you. Long time no see. We should have some fun things tonight.
Hell yeah.
We should be expecting a guest any moment now. But first and foremost, we will take care of business. Like this episode is sponsored by our friends over at cheapgraphicnovels.com, where you can get massive discounts on some great collections, trade paperbacks, manga, hardcovers, trade, whatever. Everything is there. Specials were posted. Specials like DC Finest Super Friends, The Fury of the Super Foes trade paperback for $23.99. Gather your favorite heroes, Batman, Superman, Wonder Woman, Aquaman, and more for thrilling adventures in Super Friends, The Fury of the Super Foes. From battling the Penguin and Poison Ivy to facing off against alien scientists and time-traveling foes, these stories capture the magic of superhero team-ups. This DC Finest volume also includes the first comic appearances of the Wonder Twins and Gleek, as well as exciting battles against villains like Grax, the Menagerie Man, and Dr. Destiny. This collection is a nostalgic celebration of DC's most beloved team. This volume collects stories from Limited Collector's Edition number 41, Limited Collector's Edition number 46, and the first 26 issues of Super Friends. Spectre by John Ostrander and Tom Mandrake, Omnibus Volume 1 hardcover for $74.99. Writer John Ostrander and artist Tom Mandrake were already well established in the comics world by 1992, following acclaimed and influential runs on Suicide Squad and Batman, respectively. For their next move, they teamed together and took on the Spectre, slain cop Jim Corrigan, who returned from the afterlife as a nearly all-powerful divine agent of vengeance. Drawing upon his theology studies, Ostrander brought new dimensions to the character, placing the Spectre and his frequently brutal brand of justice in ethically nuanced situations. In these tales from the 90s, police detective Jim Corrigan tries to end his mission as the Spectre, but the grisly crimes of a serial killer pulls him back into the battle for justice and sends him on a trip to hell itself. And the enigmatic mystic known as Madame Xanadu tries to help Corrigan and his friends, but her help may lead one of them to commit suicide. And when the Spectre decides to wipe out the human race, it's up to DC's mystic heroes, including John Constantine, Etrigan the Demon, the Phantom Stranger, Dr. Fate, Satana, and more to try to stop him. This omnibus collects the first half of this run, the Spectre's numbers 1 through 31 and 0. And finally, you may have heard about this one, Tanga versus the Kaiju of Camera, Volume 1 hardcover for $18.74 or trade paperback for $14.24. Wandering space goddess Tanga receives a warm welcome on a planet with a big problem. Will she help or somehow make matters worse? Superstar writer-artist Kevin McGuire takes you to the farthest and craziest reaches of outer space with the adventures of Tanga, his creator-owned hero. You want to hear more about that book? Listen to episode 1006, where Jason waxed poetically. And those are your specials for this week from cheapgraphicnovels.com. Because it's one of the last things I'll be able to enjoy before Friday late afternoon, I am sipping on some Michter's small batch Kentucky straight bourbon. Neat for a change because I need to warm up a little bit, and because fuck ice, as the greats say. So, what about you, my friend?
I'm drinking a red blend from Argentina, Bodegas Alma Negra. Had it before. We have a couple bottles in the house. It's nice, nice and smooth, like the Argentina red blends. I think Argentina gets slept on a little bit by folks. I think they have really really good wines for very very reasonable prices. Yeah. So, as you know, I had quite a day. My brain was turned on to 11 all day. I had to pontificate about a litany of major concepts to very very successful and wealthy people that wanted my opinion on things, which is always nice and I guess flattering. But the brain had to be sort of laser focused today, so I needed a little vino to help unwind and be silly and talk.
I get that.
Yeah,
I get that all too well. That's great.
Yes.
Looking forward to some wine on Friday. So before we receive our guest, who's been made aware that they can absolutely show up anytime. What do we have on the docket for this week?
Well, I wanted to do a little talk just quickly about a little current event that's going on in the comics industry.
Sure.
Because it's one that's close to home to us. So we've talked about Brian Hibbs, who is one of the longest running, and I would think fair to say, successful LCS owners out in California. He's known more than the average. He owns Comic Experience. That's in San Francisco. Is the name of his stores. But a venerable sort of institution at this point. I think fair to say in terms of LCSs, and he has been writing. I think. Well, I was going to call it a blog. I think it started as a blog, but now it's a column called "Tilting at Windmills." He's been writing it pretty much for decades, certainly as long as we've been doing the podcast, and we've talked about it from time to time. Never met Brian personally. I heard he's a very pleasant, gregarious guy, and he runs shops that are beloved in San Francisco. So I don't have anything generally negative to say about him as a person. I have taken issue with him over the years, sometimes with his takes, and not because I think his takes are just ridiculous, but I think his takes, understandably, he often writes about the industry, and as you would expect, given his lot in life, he writes from the perspective of an LCS owner. And as a result of that, he often has strong opinions. Don't know if they're loosely held, but he often makes strong declarative statements. And again, I can't say for a second that his views are invalid relative to the industry and the role he serves as an LCS owner. But I have sometimes, very publicly on our show, taken to the airwaves to challenge some of his more pointed assertions when I think he's off base or not seeing things from a more holistic perspective. Again, with no malice of intent. I respected his opinion as his own and driven by his own empiric experiences. But he, in his latest column, was asked by Heidi McDonald, who is, I'm a fan of Heidi's as well as you are. She's the owner and proprietor and editor of the Comics Beat, which is really one of the few surviving regular comic-focused news sites. I think almost every other site that was once focused on comics is either focused on lots of other things now or doesn't exist. So I still am a regular reader for Heidi's work and her team's work. I think she's also someone that's very well-intended and loves comics. And she has been... Brian's column, Tilting at Windmills, has been syndicated on Comics Beat for many years now at this point. So I guess they were having a conversation, and she specifically asked him to opine on how the world of retailing is changing in the face of everything that's happened, most notably Diamond's bankruptcy, which is a perfectly reasonable thing. And Brian, I think, would have a great insight into that since he's living through it. But as you know, but for our listeners who may not remember, Brian has, I think, been a little close-minded at times. Most notably, he has, until just recently, absolutely refused to do business with Lunar.
Yeah. Because
from his perspective, it's owned by the Merklers, and he's always viewed DCP Service as a competitor of LCS's. And so he refused to do business with them. I believe he's now has no choice. But the point is, I took issue with that, and we've talked about that. So in his latest column, I think there's been a lot of debate about his column. Now I saw the debate and saw the counters to his comments before I read his column. And I bring that up because I think one thing we can all be guilty of in this hyper combative, hyper contextualized world where we all sort of live in, social media circles of echo chamber of, we're surrounding ourselves by people who agree with us. We can often shoot first and ask questions later. And I'm glad that we're having this chat tonight and not 2 days ago when I first heard of all this, because I would have been much more viscerally combative to what I thought Brian's take was until I actually read his column. And essentially his column, and they're generally long, he gives a lot of very specific examples of how it's harder to be a LCS owner now than it was 2 years ago and 5 years ago. And I from that perspective completely have no reason to disagree with his sentiment or that it is more difficult for lots of reasons. And I think most of his column is focused on that. Where the controversy came to bear and why I'm bringing it up is that he starts his column by discussing, in the absence of Diamond, a growing number of alternative distribution models, right? And he specifically, in his opening column, mentions, and there are quite a few. I'm reading from him now. He says, "So Heidi asked me that for the third of the New World Order of retailers columns, that I cover the variety of brand new distributors that are starting to spring up in the wake of Diamond's collapse. And there are quite a few. The most visible might be Filbo, but there's also Power Pulp and Curator of Comics, and probably a few more that came into my inbox, but then almost immediately fell out." And then he goes on to talk about his issues with some of those models. Now, of course, you know where I'm going with this. I'm bringing this up because he specifically cites Power Pulp, which, we had the Power Pulp, a number of the Power Pulp founders on, about a month, 2 months ago, maybe 2-3 months ago.
Yep.
We had Chris Anderson and Matt on. Yep, and of course we know Jamie Jones quite well, and Jim Rugg's now part of the group. So I do not want to preface anything before I go further. I am biased in this discussion. I am a personal fan of the creators involved in Power Pulp. I am a believer in their talents, and I'm rooting for them. So I don't want to profess to be sort of unbiased with this, right? And the reason all this came to my attention is because Jamie Jones wrote an open letter about Power Pulp Comics in response to Brian's column, and addresses Brian's talking points and retorts them in a very thoughtful, calm manner. And then to Heidi's credit, as in a world where real journalism doesn't exist anymore, I give her immense credit because she then published Jamie's open letter in response to the column, and said, I thought it appropriate to post this retort from Power Pulp, given that I syndicated Brian's column. And she doesn't weigh in on which side she sits. She just said, which I think is totally awesome on her part. So kudos to her. I'm not going to go through and read Jamie's entire retort. I would alert everyone who's interested. You can just Google an open letter about Power Pulp Comics, or you can go to Power Pulp Comics, their website, it's directly, or if you maybe follow Jamie's Substack. The point is, it's out there. It's very easy to find, and it's all public because they want people to share it. And I did post it as well in our Facebook group and our Slack. But the point is I did want to bring it up because I do think that we need to be celebrating, I think, the creative endeavors and distribution endeavors out there that are genuinely trying to do the right thing. And I don't think, having read Brian's column, I don't think he was actually all of that, really, if at all, insulting or derogatorily bent towards Power Pulp. I think kind of they got caught in the shrapnel of him riffing about some of the new distributors and then kind of lumping them all into one or two models that he has problems with. And either it means that to me that he didn't really understand Power Pulp's model, or was just sort of in the interest of shorthand and trying to get all of its thoughts out, didn't really realize that he was lumping them in unfairly. As you know, because we had them all in, Power Pulp is a pretty simple model. In fact, they went out of their way to say we are not really a distributor. Like, we're not even a business. We're just a collective of independent creators who thought the best way to get our comics in the hands of more people is to offer a centralized way for shops to order from us at wholesale costs, right? That's really all of it, right? Like, they basically, it's their business, as we learned, is essentially a garage of one of the founders, right, storing lots of their comics and shipping them out like by hand. This is not a model meant to make any of them wealthier. It's not a model to make. They don't capture margin. They're not doing what Diamond does or Lunar does. They're not keeping a piece of the price of the comics. They're the creators themselves of these comics, and it's not like when Jim's comics sell through Power Pulp distribution. It's not like they're keeping 10% off the top, for their efforts. Like Jim's keeping his half, and you know what I mean. So to me, that's number one. Like this is not a for-profit enterprise. Number two, again, where I think Brian was wrong here is he views these models as hurting the LCS system, and I just don't. I can't speak to Phil Bell. I don't know anything about it. But Power Pulp, that is just not true, right? Because the entire model here is they want their comics, which are smaller press indie comics that a lot of times LCSs can't or won't take a shot on, to get an easier time of taking a shot by saying, listen, this is very simple. If you'd like to try them, we will sell them to you at 50% at wholesale cost. And so you get to make 50%, which is more, by the way, than they make from any distributor, including Diamond. Like they never made 50% on the comic. And we'll ship them to you for either cheap or free, depending on the volume. And that's that. Like, that's the whole model. It's baby simple. And I don't know how that would be in any way problematic for an LCS. Because, number one, these are not comics that an LCS has to carry, right? Like they have to carry Marvel, they have to carry DC, they have to carry Image. They don't have to carry any of these. That's kind of the point. So it's like, what can we do to make them more interested in carrying us? Well, we're going to give them to them for even cheaper than they got them through Diamond. And we're going to get them to them like directly, cut out the middleman, and so they keep more of the profit. And that's it. And so I know I'm probably being long-winded about this, but my point is I just wanted to call attention to the fact that it's really important as the industry tries to find whatever the new normal is. And I do think, by the way, the new normal is lots and lots of different distribution, right? Like, and it's just, and I think centralized distribution is not going to be the thing anymore. But just to say, like I would implore LCS owners, or I know a lot of people listen to us work at shops or own shops. If you're an acolyte of Brian's and you read his column and sort of take direction from that, please do at least do yourself, and in fairness to the industry, read Jamie's Power Pulp Comics open letter, and then give them reach out to them to give them a chat. Because I just don't think I think they are absolutely allies to the LCS model. They're believers in it. That's why Power Pulp exists. They're not trying to go digital. They're not trying to cut you out by selling comics directly to the consumer. They are trying to put comics in the hands of retailers who can then sell them for full price, right? So that's it. I just, again, I'll get off my pulpit, but I wanted to call attention to that because this happens to be a mini comics controversy, and as much as there is such a thing as comics controversy, that's very near and dear to all of our hearts because we love those guys. So
they are great people. I didn't see his. I didn't read that from the beat, but yeah, and I have Jamie's letter bookmarked that I have to get to. But yeah, it's you make points. It's great.
I mean, Jamie just hit a home run with his post because he was not in any way combative to Brian. In fact, he said, "Listen, we're a small little company trying to get our name out there, so all press is good press." But he said, "But I feel like we were a little misrepresented and wanted to take some time to clarify." And I think that's the right approach, right? So, because he wants to be an ally, he wants Brian to carry his comics. He doesn't want to be combative with Brian, right? So,
and you definitely, anyway, I mean, when you're even keeled and when you don't start out defensive and combative, then things can definitely people are more open to have to continue the conversation. Hi, Vince.
Hey, Vince.
Fuck it. Start off combative.
Oh yeah, you're feeling feisty tonight, huh?
Yeah, I am feisty, and that is a slippery pulpit that you are on. It is. But I agree with you.
Yeah. Well, yeah, I mean, there are boos. I mean, I knew you just jumped on, but I prefaced it by saying we're biased in this. I'm not suggesting we're not. I love all those guys, So
we're definitely team Power Pulp,
it's tough to make money these days, and just being level-headed and clear thought prevails. So yeah, I don't blame him. I would go for the throat normally, but in this case, he wants to make a buck. And you can't pay. Hi,
make a buck with a scorched earth.
Hello there, sir.
It's true. Hi, Dap.
By the way, cheers to. Let's just. I know it's only one day and it's a small thing, but as my state was involved in, let's cheers to democracy, or at least for the
yes, great move with the governor. Love New York City's mayor.
Shout out to Virginia. Shout out to
Yes,
New
absolutely.
Jersey. Shout out to
Prop 50 way to
NYC.
go.
Absolutely. I mean, again, it's small victories. This is not. This is like winning one little battle in a big war. But,
It's a
but
start. Yeah, let's keep it
it was an
going.
encouraging day. It was an encouraging day that should, in a world where a lot of us were not feeling much hope, it should give us a little bit of hope that next year's midterms go better than we were fearing, a couple months
Yeah.
ago. So, anyway,
Yeah.
so shout out to Mikey Sherrill, Team Mikey.
Yes.
So, because everybody he endorsed lost.
Exactly.
Yes. Oh,
that's
yeah.
why I say
Oh,
it.
yeah.
It was an unabashedly positive day for democracy.
So,
yeah.
it's a good thing. He's still a pig, and
Yes.
it's going to be tough to get him out. But
Oh, for sure. Yeah.
we will do it.
Yes.
Hope so.
Where are you in the grand scheme of things?
We did the intro. We talked about the Power Pulp. We haven't talked about any book yet because we figured we just.
Oh, look at that! Yeah,
Yeah.
Waiting for you.
I read a ton of stuff.
Me too. We got a lot of. I mean, there's a lot of book to cover. I mean, it could be a long one. Last week
some
was a
tag
short
team,
one,
but yeah.
a shorty. But I
What do
read
you-
a lot.
Consider short.
It was under 2 hours.
right?
Yeah, it was about. It was
which
an
is rare for
hour
us.
40, 45 or so.
Yeah.
That's long enough. Yeah.
No,
Yeah, I mean,
but
it was
yeah,
quality,
because we-
but yeah, it wasn't.
Yeah.
It wasn't as long as they normally are.
You don't want to overstay your welcome.
You read. I'm looking at what you read, Vince. You read a bunch of stuff that's old school. Old school.
I
You read
did.
one new
but-
school thing. You read one new school thing, but everything else is pretty old school.
Yeah, and then you talk. I assume you're talking about the Knightfight, #1.
Oh well,
Next
yeah, and All-Star Comics archive. I mean, that's old, obviously, old school. And...
Well, no, the Knightfight is the only new thing.
Oh no,
if-
Drome is
Yeah,
new.
well,
Drome is
I
newish.
don't
Yeah,
wanna
yeah,
talk
yeah.
about that
Yep.
Till everybody reads it.
Well, we all read it. Oh, Dap hasn't read it. I already talked.
No, I read it yesterday. I finished it yesterday.
Oh, cool. Oh, perfect. Because I went deep on it one of the weeks you couldn't make it.
Oh, well, good. I think it's more interesting. It's just take it off my list. It's more interesting to talk about the way it was made than it is to talk about the story. The story is pretty flat out run of the mill, I think, anyway. But the way it's put together and the panel sequencing and the
gorgeous.
color is beautiful. Beautiful.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, I won't. I won't steal your thunder or Daps because now I'm glad he read it too. But I mean, I know you listen to every second that you weren't on the show, so.
I'm listening right now.
But I said quite definitively, for me, it's my book of the year, and I don't see anything running it. Like it was easily the best thing I've read this year, for many of the reasons you're alluding to. The craft of it on all fronts is sort of like master level.
Yeah,
Level craft.
it is. But the story is, I've read it before.
Absolutely, absolutely. I actually likened it a lot to a lot of the great European masters. Like Drouillet more than any of them. Where like you read Drouillet, and I don't know that I've ever read a Drouillet, or even and frankly, honestly, I mean, outside of the Inkle, a lot of Mobius' stuff. Like it's not like you come away with those things from a narrative perspective feeling like, oh my God, these are amazing narratives. You often don't, but like they're functional narratives, but the art and the craft and the storytelling of the art is so exceptional that you're like, that they're classics, right? So that's kind of with Jesse's book, I thought the same, like to your point, like it's a relatively straightforward like story with a couple of well-played concepts. Like we've seen these concepts told many, many times in many forms. But to me, the execution of it on all levels is ridiculous.
Exactly. Yeah. But you have to admit, there wouldn't be a Drome without a Mobius and a Drouillet.
Oh, absolutely.
And a
I think.
Eisner.
Oh, I think that Lonergan would be the first to tell you that. Absolutely.
Yeah,
Sure.
yeah. No, I loved it. I thought it was great.
Yeah.
But the one I read that came out today, I think, we were recording on a Wednesday, was Knightfight #1.
That's part of the KO stuff, right?
Yeah.
Okay.
Oh, okay.
I
I didn't even know what it was. I was like, "What is Knightfight?" I don't know.
Yeah. It's Bruce versus Dick.
Oh, okay.
And Bruce gets.
You're always Team Dick, so.
He's using apocalyptic armor.
Yeah,
Should he die in the fight and the Joker kills him? Spoiler. he will be transported away from them back to his original timeline, but it doesn't work out that way. He's transported to a Gotham where Dick is now Batman, and Bruce supposedly, spoilers, supposedly killed some of the Robins. Because Bruce is like, oh, I'm so proud of it, my boys, especially Dick. He's turned into a great leader, and he's gone into battles that I could never have done. Dick is the man. And then Dick tells him to stop being Batman. Just give it up. You're too old. You're frail. You're fragile. Give it up. And tries to take him in. That being said, the point to read this is Dan Moore's art.
Right.
Is fabulous. Oh, fantastic. He lights up a page. I don't have to tell you. Superficially, I hate the new Batman logo. It's not even close to dislike or, a mild annoyance. I hate it. It doesn't work. Because the undulations of the Batwing and the Batman is written straight across, like level. It doesn't work.
Yeah, you're right.
And I could see as a way to brand the Bat books, because they use it for Fractions Batman. They use it for this. I can't stand it. Yeah, I can't stand it. It's just whoever paid money for that logo lost money on the deal, because it's terrible. That's my review of this book. I'm not concerned at all about the apocalypse and becoming a god to beat him. I don't care. I read it because of Moore's art, and it is fabulous. It's fantastic. The story, whatever. Joshua Williamson wrote the story, and it's Bruce versus Dick. We've seen it a million times. He's after saying you want to be Batman. I would not want it to be you, because you're giving up your life to be Batman, and Dick is Batman, and Bruce is pissed, and Dick confronts him with the fact that you're not so pissed that I'm Batman. You're pissed that it's not you that's Batman, and it's well written, but it's better drawn. And it is just beautiful to look at. Will I stick with it? I don't know. Probably. It's only I'm guessing 3-4 issues. But it was okay. It wasn't bad. Is that a glowing review? I don't know.
It's a review.
Like, it was all right. It was all right.
It was okay. I'm going to read Fractions Batman because I want to see what he does with the character, because I think he is a very talented writer, even though Kelly Sue, that's his significant other, his wife, I believe.
Yep.
Is a better writer.
You do say that.
I do say that. I've said that before. But I want to see what he does with Batman, because if anybody can breathe new life into Batman, it's Fraction.
I believe, I'm not going to speak for Jason, but I believe he is, because I'm finally reading. I haven't read the third issue yet. First issue I thought was a strong start. The second issue picks up right after it. Actually, I don't. You might not want to read Fractions Batman Run, because you do know who the commissioner of Gotham City is, don't you?
Yeah. Your
No.
favorite.
It's Vandal
Is it
Savage.
Maggie?
No.
Oh no! Come
Yeah.
on.
Yeah.
He's the commissioner.
Now, to be fair, Fraction. I don't think Fraction that he inherited that. I don't think.
Yeah. He's been. It's been.
okay.
It's not a Fraction thing. It's just. It's what DC has right now. So he's got to work with it.
That shouldn't be, though. That shouldn't be.
I know. I agree with you.
We actually,
I'm not.
when we talked about the first issue, we thought, well, Vince isn't going to read this.
Probably not. No, who does he art?
The art is by Jorge Jimenez. It's gorgeous. The art looks great. I like.
There's 2 strikes against.
Oh, shit.
You don't like you don't like Jorge Jimenez?
That's fucked
No.
up. What?
No, he's
Dude,
the one who
you're
did the
wild.
Amazon. He did the Amazon book.
Are you thinking?
Right?
You're thinking of Phil Jimenez?
Oh, okay.
Jorge's the
All
one who
right.
did the
No, no.
Super Sons. He worked with Tomasi on a lot of the Superman stuff.
Yeah.
He's good. Yeah, he's good.
Yes,
He's clean as a
he's
whistle.
similar
dude.
to Mora. He's a little bit more stylized, but he's
Yeah.
in that sphere.
Yeah, Philip Mays did the Amazon, and that sucked. So, and I
about
don't like
that.
to use that word. Yeah.
So you won't.
I
So
think-
you don't want to sit in on the episode when we have Phil on.
Probably not. I wouldn't have anything to say.
Wow.
Talk about how
enough.
great it was to inherit a lot of what George did.
Yeah, you Batman with Matt Fraction is awesome. Wait a
That's
minute,
right.
wasn't you?
It's like wrong Jimenez. But the Batman is no. I like I said, I haven't read the third yet, but there's basically the commissioner is putting out a just wanted dead or dead vigilantes. So he's got he doesn't want Batman and Robin around. So all the cops are basically
He's
hunting.
a vigilante.
I didn't say it made sense, but so yeah, but it looks great. It's a fun read. I'm enjoying it. I'll probably read the number 3 tomorrow, along with a couple other things that came out this week. But no, it's and it's not like Savage is on every page. It's still
No, I wouldn't expect it.
Batman dealing with recent fallout and trying to make sense of things, but yeah, he's just got this to worry about as well. But no, I think overall I think you dig it.
Probably. Yeah. Again, I assume that Fraction was given Daniel Savage, so he's trying to make lemonade.
Yep.
I get it.
He's making him front and center though, so I don't know. I mean, he did inherit him, but it's like he's embracing it.
They won't let him kill him off. So,
No. He
Well, you
Yeah,
can't die. He's immortal.
Yeah.
as are all characters. Yeah. But the IP outweighs the good storytelling. So he'll do what he can, but I'm sure he's limited in his approach to the character. And
Yes.
it's up to you guys. I noticed if I talk slower, I don't slur as much.
You sound great. Yeah, you sound.
Once
sound
I
feisty.
once I get ramped up, rein me in a little bit because you understand what I'm saying.
Okay.
All right.
Yeah.
That's easy.
Do that.
There was a shit ton of Age of Revelation books. I didn't read any of them, but there was a shit ton of them. At
Yeah, it
least
was
4
very-
of them.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It was because I figure it's the first week of the month, so
Yep.
probably
Probably a few a week. Yeah.
You're way more in. You're way more in on these books than I am. Just to be fair.
they're very, very good. I was surprised.
I did read Radioactive Spider-Man.
Yeah, that was okay.
Yeah.
It was all right.
I mean, the
read
Kev
that
Walker
first.
art helped, but it was
Yeah.
I did enjoy it. It's a neat take. I don't know if it's going to be my year travels or anything, but yeah, I thought it was it's interesting because I mean, obviously everything else is so mutant focused with the rest of the books that I've
It's
read
weird.
so far.
Yeah.
But here's Spidey. And it's just like, so it felt like one of those weird tie-ins just because something else was happening elsewhere in the Marvel Universe. We're just going to throw in a Spidey mini that doesn't tie into the main ongoing, but it kind of works because everybody's a mutant and
pretty much.
Peter's dealing with some shit. So it's and Peter's down with the swirl. So nothing wrong with that.
It was the reason why I started reading the Age of Revelation in the first place, because the Radioactive Spider-Man was the first book I read.
Oh,
Out
nice.
of the entire line, even before the X book. And I said, it's not so bad. If they could do this with Spider-Man, what are they doing with the X-Men? And I read most of them, except the ones that came out today. And wow, so good. All-Star Comics Archive I read volume 6 and 7 because those are the only ones that I have at the moment. Most of the storytelling, get the book over here. Most of the storytelling is the same. The boys split up. They split up into 6 different paths, and they culminate solving the riddle at the end. Every book is exactly the same. And the thing that got me mad, it's Hawkman, drawn by Kubert. It's not the Joe Kubert that we've come to love. It's early Joe Kubert. These were done in 1940,
Yeah.
46, 47.
Right.
So it's early Kubert. It's Hawkman, Dr. Midnight, The Flash, Johnny Thunder, Green Lantern. Now it's the Alan Scott Green Lantern.
Yeah. This is all Golden Age Earth 2 heroes.
The Atom, the Golden Age Atom, and Wonder Woman. Now, the thing that got me about these comics, say what you will about the work, they are impeccable. Martin Adel, Gardner Fox, Joe Kubert, John Chester Kozlak, Stan Ashmeyer. They're amazing comics. I love the art. I love the storytelling, even though it's a bit formulaic. I love it all, except the fact that Wonder is listed as secretary. She's the only one who has a nomenclature of the All-Star team. But, like, the boys spill up. It's even a panel where she says, you boys go solve the crime. I'll wait here and jot things down on index cards. It's like, to relegate a woman who can... maybe Green Lantern? Maybe. She could beat them all.
Yeah.
All of them. And they have her as a secretary. Mm-hmm. She takes notes. She writes down phone numbers. She gets plot details. And the boys take care of the crime. Like, that made me actually mad. That I realized that these comics were produced in the early 40s or the mid 40s. So I get it. The women were looked upon as cleaning house, taking care of the children, making dinner, doing laundry, stuff like that. But there's not even a disclaimer in the book saying that this is how it was back then. You know, it's not. We don't look upon women hopefully the same way now, but we didn't change anything. Because
Nope.
And no, it's sad. It's really sad that Wonder Woman is listed as a secretary.
Yeah.
It's bad. But
Look at you being all based and shit. Look at you, new man.
No, they're
woke
great
now?
comics. Yeah, I am. I'm woke. I think they're great comics, but for that one fact, we get to see Wonder Woman initially in the beginning of the story because who else would write down the phone numbers, right? Who else would make the calls and set up the dictation and all that stuff? We get to see her at the end, if we're lucky. But for the most part, it's a comic about 6 superpowered individuals. Well, 5.5 if you count Johnny Thunders.
Yeah.
The Thunderbolt's pretty
Right.
strong, but he's not Thunderbolt. He doesn't say "see you"
Right.
all the time. Yeah, it's good stuff. Good stuff. Yeah, I've been
Respect.
reading anything. I read the Marvelman. I don't know why I bought these, but I did. Talk about having the biggest dick in comics. Superman and Batman? No. Miracle Man? Yes. But he was calling himself Marvelman, and they were British when they were originally published by Make Anglo and others. But I blame Spring Hoatling for the fact that he's the book designer, for the fact that this series didn't catch on, because the stories and the art are great. The price at $34.99, it's a hardcover, and for $34.99, you expect it to be damn good. They're printed black and white on newsprint. Now, they originally
Oh, man.
were published in black and white, so no harm there. But they print them as cheaply as they can, thinking
Wild.
we're going to make money off this. Why not? Let's exploit Marvelman to the gills because we're going to insert him into the 616. Didn't happen. Didn't happen. You have a lackluster Breakfogle cover, a lackluster Joey cover. It's just that one thing that gets me is that the art is not even formatted for the page. It's not the right proportion. There's about 2.5 inches on the bottom of nothing.
That's horrible.
Nothing. It is horrible. And I was thinking, oh man, Miracle Man. Marvel's got Miracle Man. This is going to be great. No, it didn't turn out that way. So I
Just
read
one of those
that.
Doom series where the series is that series is just never going to get its proper.
No, it's not.
Yeah, no. Especially now after Neil, yeah.
No. And the whole thing, you could put Marvel. Marvel needs something now. Even if you kill them off at the end, all of the Marvel characters would benefit by having Marvel Man in 616, because there'd be crossovers. There'd be crossovers to the moon. But it was not to be.
Yeah, it just wasn't meant to be. Plus, we get the whole thing. It gets complicated because of the Century, right? Like, especially now that it's in the MCU. Like, what do you do? Like, obviously, the Century is a knockoff of Marvel Man, so it's like
The Century is pretty powerful.
Oh yeah, no, I'm saying, but like, can you have Marvel Man and the Century and Hyperion?
Well,
Can you have all of them exist together?
Obviously, a Marvel Man would kill them off, or at least put them out of the story until the story is told, and then later on they'll come back. But who do you think is the most powerful character in the Marvel 616?
Oh,
Well, if it's not
Oh, man.
Sue or Phoenix,
I don't know. Like, well, I mean, like, does the Beyonder still exist, or is that not? Is he gone? Like,
I know they have.
Molecule
I-
Man,
It's
right?
close.
You just
Yeah,
Yeah.
you just print
Molecule is a good
anything
one.
in.
I know they
I think
have. Who?
No, go ahead.
Well, no, I was saying I know that they've really, I think, ratcheted up Carol's power set in the MCU movies. Having not read a ton
Oh,
of Captain
sure, yeah.
Marvel comics, I don't know how powered down she is on paper compared to the movies. But I think in the movies she probably is. But yeah, in the 616, I would have thought it would have been Marvel Man after the acquisition, but I don't want it to be Sentry. I'm honestly fine with Molecule Man. If it's not one of the cosmic entities,
Well, I was going to say, I mean, if you're going to go, like, I mean, yeah, I don't know how you rank, like, the Living Tribunal and Chaos and Order, and, like, I don't know where, like, Eternity, like, I don't know where they fit. Like they're obviously, like, such broad, I mean, they're like literal embodiments of, like, universal forces, right? So, I mean, I guess they would be more powerful, I guess. I don't,
Yeah,
I don't
you
know,
never know.
right?
Yeah, I think it's Legion.
oh, that is.
Oh, now, see,
I
now,
think-
Legion may be, like, the most powerful mutant, right? Or like, or he, or like Proteus, like anyone that can shape reality, right? Like that's kind of it's like,
Yeah, he could do it on cosmic entities too.
right.
He could do it on Eternity. He could use his powers in a living tribunal. Anything Krieg, there's nothing.
I mean, I guess technically on that front, Franklin Richards is the answer, right?
I think Legion is more powerful than Franklin.
Interesting.
Franklin's pretty damn powerful.
Yeah.
And he could do a lot of different things.
I mean, and in
Legion knows
the
his-
616 lore, he's the next Galactus. He's the lone survivor
Right,
of this.
right.
Right. Yeah.
You have to sneak up on Legion to beat him.
Mhm.
And if he doesn't allow you to sneak up on him, the Franklin's doomed.
That's true.
You're right.
Yeah.
About that.
That's true. Yeah.
I think about these things way too often.
That's
Well, I
great, though.
remember. I mean, back because we've talked about like we did, back reading as a kid, Secret Wars. Like, I remember being overwhelmed by the idea of Molecule Man because I was just like,
Yeah.
because again, comics is all about escapism, and I remember thinking as a kid, like, well, wait a minute, like, if he could just like create like reality out of his thin air because whatever, like, how is he not just like he's just God? Like, he could just do whatever he wants. Like, I like why like there's no limits, right? It's like I mean like if you could just change any molecule into any other molecule, like I like just you could just reshape reality at any time you wanted. I mean, just I don't
Yeah.
know. So yeah,
It's good stuff.
it is.
It's fun to ponder the
Oh,
possibility.
sure.
It is.
Hell yeah.
Sue's pretty powerful. But she's
Yeah, no
nothing
doubt.
compared to eternity. Come on. What could she
Right.
possibly do? Yeah.
Well, right, and then you have like one of my favorite things about like the old Silver Surfer run with like Ron Lim and stuff was like you got to like it's like the elders of the universe and stuff like they're all so ridiculously powerful and
Ridiculous. Yeah.
so you're like yeah like I mean or like the Celestials, right? Like the Celestials are effectively Marvel's gods. Like they created life, so it's like I don't know, like how do I rank the Celestials against an Earthbound mutant, right? Like
Yeah. It's
yeah.
it's tough.
It's tough.
It's tough. I'm gonna go because I'm
Okay.
very, very tired. But
All right.
my Angel Travels is
Yes.
not so much a review, but a plea.
Oh.
I don't expect you both to read it because number one, I don't really have it. Number two, it's a big ask. I'm going to read Mobile Suit Gundam, The Origin, all 12 volumes.
Oh, shit.
Yeah. Published by Vertical, recently republished in huge size. They look like magazine zine size to me. 2 volumes per book, which will cost you $300.
Whoa.
Yeah.
That's retail. That's retail. Considering the 12 volumes published by Vertical were $29.95 a piece. So you're getting a good deal if you get the reprint and the reprint of a reprint of a reprint of a reprint. You're getting a good deal because it's giant size. So the artwork by Yoshikazu Yasuhiko is originally manga, tankobon size, but it's blown up and it looks great. So, but I'm reading, because I have them, the 12 volumes of the Vertical series. I don't know who publishes, probably Vertical as well. So that's my plea. But my plea is to read along with me.
Well, I have the first 4 volumes of the version that came out back in like a decade ago.
I would sell them off and buy the larger size ones.
Okay. All right.
You have 1 to 4?
Yeah.
None of them are rare. They go for about 20, 25 a pop. So what you get for the first 4, you pay for the first 2 of Vertical of the magazine format and size, and then you only have 4 more to buy. I'm assuming
Respect.
that they're 2
So,
volumes.
so to be clear, you're talking about. So I'm seeing now there's these new. I guess they're new deluxe versions, and there's 5 of them. There's 5 of them.
Nice. So that means that they're publishing more than 2 volumes in one of them. So that's decent. Yeah, and the $50.
Oh, it's 6 volumes. It says this new edition collects the original best-selling 12 installment English release into 6 oversized volumes.
There you go.
All of the many color pages, unusually numerous for Japanese comics, have been retained only at a larger size. That's awesome.
So nice. And truth be told, I probably will buy the 6 volumes just to get the bigger art, but not at the moment because I'm too busy building mobile suits myself. Anything to pass to pass the time. So I will.
By the way, our sponsor, our lovely sponsor at Cheap Graphic Novels, has them. Let's see. I see Volume 1, Volume 2, Volume 3.
These are the ones for $38.45.
Yeah, Volume 3 is pre-order, so that I guess 2 are out now.
Because Volume
Right.
1 came out in August of this year. So
Yeah.
so they're
They're new.
okay. All right.
They're
so
new.
then I'll get
I'm
the first 2
adding it right
volumes
now.
then.
Yeah, same.
Cool beans. I love you guys.
Love you too, brother.
I
too,
thank
bro.
you for putting up with my bullshit, and I'll be back
Bro,
next week.
this is giving us life. This is good.
You would do it for us.
I would.
Well, you would do it for Jason.
Yeah, kind of.
Yeah, it's true.
Bastard.
Be good. I love you.
Love
All
you.
right, love y'all.
Saturday away.
Peace. I
Love
love
it.
the new quick hit, Vince. In and
That's
out, man.
awesome. I love it.
Bang bang, bang bang.
Bang bang. God. The Bang Bang Gang. There we go. We got to bring that back.
It's funny that he brought that up because actually I meant to, because I don't you often mention so many things when you do the cheap graphic novels stuff, but I wanted to mention it's just totally sparked a memory because I went to pre-order these and I realized that I have something else in my cart that's also a pre-order. Dark Horse is putting out, probably it's interesting, they're putting out a new version of the and it looks like actually the same trade dress, so I'm kind of turned on. It's this is hot. Lone Wolf and Cub deluxe editions.
Yes.
Oversized. So yeah. So I'm all about that too. All
I
about
have seen
it.
that. Yeah, all right. So tomorrow, we'll discuss which are these the blue books?
Yeah, they're
looking at
just blue covers. Yeah.
Okay. All right.
Yeah,
So then,
blue
okay.
covers. Yeah. Yep. Correct, sir.
Sweet. So I gotta get that. That'll be fun. Let's see what else we got. Alrighty. And oops. So moving on from that. So yeah, so I did picking up since he dropped the little tidbit on Drome. I did.
Yeah, speak on it.
I did finish it. Was it yesterday or today's Wednesday? Either Monday after work or finished it yesterday. But yeah, it's the reason it took me longer than I wanted is I was completely sucked in on almost every page. The panel layout, the lines Jesse uses to show action in between panels, or if Homeboy's chasing a deer, or if she's diving into a river, it's amazing watching his little line work go through, almost break a panel in half, but you're just following the motions along. It's mesmerizing. I can just get lost just kind of flipping through that and trying to look at how things play out. Even the gladiator fight, like you've got so many little panels that get broken up and shaken up because of the action, because my man's just throwing around this soldier left and right. So the layouts are amazing. The color work is great. Every time the gods introduce someone new to fuck things up, you're supposed to hate Eye Patch, and I do with a passion. It's now that I've read it, I'm going to go back and listen to your review from a couple months ago, because for me, this is one of those things where it's not. I don't want to explain it. I want people to experience it. I don't want to tell you, the listener. I don't want to tell the reader what I not what I felt or how I feel about it. I don't want to color anyone else's take on it. I want people to experience this for themselves, so they can take whatever they take away from it without any preconceived notions. And it's the fact that Jesse even the fire elemental was great. I'm so glad this is in color, because the color makes everything work. It's
well, the color is the story. I mean, it's all about CMYK.
That's true. Yeah. You got the red, the blue, and that absolutely makes sense. But obviously, it also if it was black and white, then night would just kind of just overtake everything, and it would be muddled. But yeah, I absolutely I can see why it hits you as hard as it did, and why you feel what you feel about it, and why it would be your book of the year. It's an absolute, it's a masterpiece. I think I I don't know. Is Jesse in his late 30s, early 40s, maybe?
Yeah. I mean, I don't know his exact age, but I'd say he's probably late 30s, I guess.
So I mean, if
I know
what
he's got a young kid, so
he does,
I'm
yes, he's
like,
got the baby,
yeah, so he's like
babyish.
probably at least a decade younger than us, but yeah.
I could see. I mean, with this, I shudder at what he'll be able to accomplish in the future. But I could see this. I don't know if it's fair to say that. I don't know if I want to say I could see this being his magnum opus. We're going to
Oh no,
compare his future works.
No.
Okay, so we're going to compare his future works
I
to
think
this
this
for
is
a
his
long.
best work to date, and I think
Yes,
I mean,
right.
like I don't think there aren't many. I mean, there aren't like whatever creator like you only. How do I say this? No matter how amazing you are as a creator, I don't think any creator has too many years where I think definitively have a book that's going to be widely recognized or at least in the running for best book of the year. So I mean, again, doesn't mean that Jesse can't do it again, but I'm saying like I think I would be stunned if, as my favorite, as you know, I love the lists, as the best of lists are coming out, I would be shocked if, as I do the meta compilation like I do for everybody, if Drome isn't in the top 3 by the time I'm done the compilation, I would be gobsmacked.
Sure.
So, does that mean that Jesse can't ever replicate that success? No, of course not. But I would. I mean, but I don't think it's. But the likelihood that he surpasses the now again, commercial's different. He may have bigger commercial hits, right? Because this is not, this isn't a mainstream book. But do I think that he's likely to far surpass the critical acclaim this book's going to receive? No, I think that's hard to do, man. Like I again, I know Vince was a little like I as I said on my review, I think this is perfect comics. Like to me, this is because this is my favorite comics, as you know, are comics that when I put it down, I think this thing I just enjoyed couldn't be done in any other medium. You couldn't make a movie of this.
Right.
You couldn't make a cartoon of this. It's not a prose like. And to me, that makes perfect comics. And there are lots of types of I think lots of different types of comics can be a perfect comic. But like this was perfect comics. I think this was as good a fantasy comic as I've ever read, and I think it works on all levels. I think there's more depth to it than our boy was alluding to, but that's fine. Yeah, he was coming in hot. But even if you don't want to embrace the depth of it, I think on the surface it's a really entertaining high fantasy book, and I think that to me, I hope for Jesse's sake he has other books that are as widely acclaimed and are as well received. But I don't think it's I don't want to say I don't think it's likely, but I think it would be surprising to me if 20 years from now there's a book that he did that's like demonstrably better received and loved than this one. Yeah.
Yeah. No, that's well stated. It's a I think I'm fine with the perfect comics statement. I don't my hesitation is if it's I don't want anybody really holding my hand as I'm reading a story. And if things are meant to be open to interpretation, that's great. And if if things are supposed to end open ended or however you want, but I think I have to mull it over a bit because it's still fresh and I'm still a little sore over how things ended in the book. And that's likely by design. I'm not, it's not a it's been out long enough. You spoke on it. I definitely felt some kind of way when our boy met his fate, but then she's given the ultimatum, and you can bring him back or you can make sure Knight comes back and everybody else can survive, and that's obviously, there is naturally just one choice to make at that point. But then her actions cause have consequences, obviously, and then she meets her fate, and I'm like, well, fuck, man, now, and so I wasn't. Disappointment's not the word I'm looking for. I was hoping, because I'm me, I was hoping for maybe a happier ending. And that's on me. That's not the story Jesse was telling, and this is perfect. Between these covers, this is the story he told. This is the story I have, and I'm fine with that. I'm not the writer, so
Right.
I'm okay with the story Jesse was telling. But because I was so caught up, and because I'm so invested in, and I just met these characters, and I'm watching them grow and evolve to a point, and seeing what they're going through, and then for it to end the way it ended, I was just like, damn it! We could have had something, but no, it's an absolute masterpiece. It's a wonderful book. If you haven't picked it up yet, after Jason's talked about it, after everybody else has talked about it, then I have no idea what the hell you're waiting for. It's definitely it's an absolute classic, no doubt about it. But yeah, it's one of those things where I kind of didn't know I needed it. I knew it was coming, because I'd seen things here and there, and Jesse had the postcards, and he was able to talk about it briefly or a little bit at Heroes. I'm pretty sure you had it pre-ordered at that point, but I'm glad I have it. I'm glad it exists. It's a wonderful piece of work, and knowing that I think Faster, which might be a re-release, but I know I got that coming in my next shipment. I mean, yeah, I read Man's Best earlier in the summer, so I mean I've read a ton. I've read more Jesse Lonergan this year than I have in recent years.
About fucking time.
I know. And but man, I mean, and if you haven't, if you're new, if you're not familiar with Jesse's work, Drome is a hell of a place to pop your cherry on. This is although maybe not.
Drome is your first Jesse Lonergan work. You might read some of the other stuff and be like, oh, okay, like not. And again, I've loved everything Fred of his, but it's like, but again, to me, it's sort of like, to me, everything he's done up to this point, sort of like fed into his ability to pull off Drome. You know, it's like speaking of education, you know, you do well in school, and then you go to college and you get your undergraduate degree, and then some people want to get their master's or their doctorate, and it's like that. This is Drome is like his PhD. It's like his thesis. It's like, all right, man, like I've been putting in the work for 15, 20 years, and like then and that work has led me to be able to do this, you know, and yeah, so like you know, like I've seen people actually liken it to and not in subject matter, but like I've seen a few people liken it to Asteros Polyp and Mazzucchelli, and like I don't know if that's a fair thing, because the thing about Asteros Polyp is the notable part of that is that, right, we hadn't seen Mazzucchelli make a comic in 20 years, and it was like he came back, and it's like you always want to know, and it's you know what's is it not Monsters, right? That's the
Barry Windsor Smith.
Yeah, Brian was. Yeah,
Yep.
The one that you guys busted me because I didn't. It wasn't my. But my point is like, both of those. No, I think both of those guys, and then you know, last year with Charles Burns, like the notable thing about that is they had established themselves as greats, and then they disappeared, you know, and went on to do other things in life, and then they came back decades after making comics and made another comic that was like perfect. And it seems like such an accomplishment, because they're like, fuck, like you guys were gone for 20 years and you came back and you're still doing it. And like, goddamn, like it's like riding a bike. So I don't think it's fair to compare it to that, because Jesse's like in his prime. Like he's still in his like, I'm making comics every day. Like that's so like, so to me, like I don't really like vibe with the comparisons that I'm seeing to Asteros Polyp, because it's like, well, again, like Mazzucchelli was more. What was notable about that is like we just hadn't seen dude in a generation, and and then he came back and he gave us another masterpiece. So it's like, to me, like if Jesse goes and does other things, like starts making movies or whatever, which I don't think he's interested in doing, but I'm just saying, like, and then you know in 2045 when we're fucking senile and are barely able to talk and we're still doing the podcast, he comes and makes a badass comic, and that's when that comparison is apt, right? To me, that it's and again, it's not even like it's. I mean, there's nothing wrong with. I mean, I think everybody that's compared it to Asteros Polyp is like being super complimentary. It's meant as a compliment, but it's like, nah, this is more like, to me, this is just more of like the natural arc of a storyteller working his ass off every day of his life for 15, 20 years, and like finally getting to like all the things align, and he's like, oh, I done did it, you know. And
he did.
And as we talked about when I talked about it, like he does not listen to reviews of it. He doesn't read or listen to reviews of his work, so he won't hear this. But I do know that I think enough people, including myself, have hit him up directly and been like, bro, this is your moment. Like, this is your thing. Like, I hope he's appreciating it in the moment, right? And like I hate I always, and this is not just for comic creators. Like, I always am bummed out, like as a sports, like when you hear people say like, well, I really didn't appreciate my career until like, you know, it's like 30 years later, and like now I can respect it or appreciate it. It's like, ah, man, like, nah, bro, like you should have embraced, like you should just feel proud of what you've accomplished, like in the moment. And I know that's probably hard, but like you should just be like, dude, like take a moment and just savor that, like this isn't a fucking achievement. And to your point, Dap, like hopefully it's not his greatest work, right? Because like no one ever wants to think they've peaked. But like if in 30 years that you look back in your career and this is your greatest work, like, well, it was a fucking masterpiece. So proud of you, right? Like it's like Emil Ferris with like My Favorite Thing Is Monsters, like. Her first comic may end up being her best comic. And I say that with actually a little more confidence because she doesn't put out a lot of comics. And while I very much liked Volume 2, I didn't think it was Volume 1, right? So it's like, but like, if she never makes another comic, like, I hope when she's, you know, 90 on her deathbed, she's like, but I made a fucking perfect comic. I gave the world a perfect piece of art, you know, and that's what, to me, what it all comes down to. Like, just, you know, I mean, like, I wish in general, as fans of art, like not just comics, but just art, we were all like more. I think we should skew overtly positive with art that we love. Like in my business, in my real work, my shoot job, you know, there's this idea of like that. You know, the enemy of progress is perfection, right? Like that, like you can't have a perfect take on a business or an investment, right? Because like then you're just gonna never make a decision, right? So you have to kind of like accept that you're like you're never gonna have perfect information. But like with art, man, I think we should skew to like, I think there can be lots of perfect art. Like it doesn't like it's not if like. We're not grading on a scale. There doesn't have to be like one thing that stands above all. Like it is perfectly reasonable to have things that are like, I want to, like, my hope as a person who does this podcast every week is that every week I read something I think is perfect. Now that doesn't happen, but like, man, oh man, like I wish it did, you know, like I don't like, I think lots of things can be 10 out of 10 in something, in a thing like art that you love. Right.
Yep.
So
my only hope, and if I don't know, and I'm glad it was released. My only worry now is that, as it always happens when pieces of work are put out, that when it comes time for the awards, it was so long ago people forget because everybody has recency bias and so. But I think I think because. It's not.
When this isn't the Oscars, dude. It's not the Oscars. Like
no, I know it's not the Oscars, but I mean we're months away. We're almost a year away from the Eisners. We've got. I mean, and that's just the start of the awards. But yeah, I mean, I know as soon as no one's going to forget this, and as soon as someone sees it on a list, it'll jog their memory. They'll remember it. So whatever came out a couple of months before the Eisners, no one's going to forget, or once they remember that Drome exists, and then everybody else should watch out. But it's a that was my only thing, is that just like I don't want absence to make the heart grow fond, or I don't want out of sight, out of mind. I just don't want to worry that, you know, it was, oh, that was so long ago, that didn't that come out before last year's. But that's for people who are actually in those rooms planning those awards, and that's for them to worry about. I'm not going to stress it.
I'll give you an anecdotal data point that should put you at ease.
Okay.
this year, the 2025 Eisner Awards, the winner of the best graphic novel, which is one of my favorites, and actually I was rooting for Final Cut, which didn't win, but the nominees were Final Cut, My Favorite Thing Is Monsters Book 2, Sunday, Victory Parade, all amazing books that I loved, and then the winner, which I also thought was amazing, so I really didn't have an issue with it, was Lunar New Year Love Story, by Jean Lewin Yang. And the reason I bring it up is because, to your point, that was the winner of the 2025 Eisner Awards this summer for Best Graphic Album, and it was published in December 2023. So like I think the Eisner voters are a special group. They don't. I don't think they're prone to recency bias. I think
good.
They take a pretty holistic view. Yeah. So
Whew.
I would sweat that.
All right.
I know.
I sleep easy now.
But what we need to talk about is another book I think strong Eisner consideration, and that we've both read. You finally got off your ass and read it, even though you started it well before I did.
I did.
You did. But now we've both read, and I think it is a book that is like diametrically different from Drome on all levels. Other than that, it's amazing, right? Like in that it's like a completely different part of the comics landscape, and that is Ignatz and Eisner Award-winning creator Ben Passmore, in his latest being Black Arms to Hold You Up: A History of Black Resistance. What did you think?
Full disclosure, folks, we are working on having Ben stop by and chat us up before the end of the year. When I was notified about the book and sent a PDF, and then they sent the copy. I had to write back and say that there were things in this book that I was aware of, either learning on my own or marrying into it. But there's also a lot in this book that was completely new to me. And for that, I'm very appreciative. It is rough, and that's intentional. Not rough as well as, Ben's art style, but just in the information in the pages, on the pages in this book. Ben doesn't pull a lot of punches. And while the information, because you don't know what someone is thinking, because there are a lot of historical figures written about throughout, and we don't have them around to talk to and get their thoughts on things. Some of it may be, unless you're going by some of their writings, which he does, you may fill in some blanks, and I appreciate that as sort of like an op-ed type of thing. But I thought it was extremely well done. I love the homework at the back. If you want to know where he cites his sources, you've got like 3 or 4 pages of a reading list to, as he breaks down each chapter of the book, so you can get more information on things, or where he picked up the information to work on it for the book. Like Drome, this is something that's going to stick with me for a while. I know. I mean, we've read Bottom Feeders. Ben's not new to us as far as what we've read from him in the past. But this was something completely different that it's been a minute, I think, since I've read something like this where you're hit in the face with things you're not necessarily aware of. I mean, yeah, dude, I obviously I'm a white dude, grew up in the suburbs most of my life, so I wasn't around certain situations or around certain people. I don't know. I don't know too many militants. I don't know. I just so to see how the formation of certain things, or and I completely understand why things would turn out the way they would turn out. Uh, this was this was I liked it. I liked because of how it's presented and the work Ben put into it. But it is definitely something that you kind of have to maybe marinate in a little bit. It's not something it took me as long as it took me because it wasn't. It's not a breezy light read. It's not for me at least. I wasn't ready to kind of just sit down and just read about another Black Death, read about another person who was because white people figure they can have their way with whoever. I needed a breather here and there. So it's hard to take, but I feel it's especially right now in this day and age, I feel it's required reading. I think it's a wonderful book. I think I'm glad to see it showing up on lists. I think it should. I want more people to be aware of it. I want people to read this, and yeah, I'm gonna have questions, but yeah, for now, I'm close to blown away by it. It's something that really kind of hit me harder than I thought it would.
Sure. Yeah, I mean, I think to your point about us being white suburban guys, we both share that. But I also think it's fair, and again, this is no surprise to anyone that's not new to the show. I mean, we both have, I think, an unapologetic love for Black culture. I mean, with again, I think we try and be respectful of being unabashed fans of Black culture and Black history without trying to sort of. I hope we don't come off as ever trying to sort of co-opt it, or I mean that's never the intent. But yeah, I mean, obviously this is an area that's historically near and dear to my heart as well. I loved it. I mean, Ben is a storyteller. We've discussed most, if not all, of his prior comic work on the show. So we're obviously fans of his work. This is the most, I think, serious of, well, I mean, he's done. No, I don't know if that's fair. Like, he's socially conscious in most of his work, but this is I think this is the most spoonful of sugar helps the medicine go down type of a thing.
Mm-hmm.
Just to elaborate on some of the things you've said, the setup of this book for those that aren't familiar, it's basically a book narrated in chapters, but the narrator is Ben himself, or a comics version of himself, and his father, Ronnie. Where basically Ben, and to Dap's point about him pulling no punches. What's interesting, well, one of the many things that I thought was interesting about this book is that Ben, who is I mean, he's black. Well, I don't know if Ben identifies as black, because in the book himself, there's a part where one of the chapters is talking about one of the characters in the chapter, one of the historical figures in the chapter had a problem. Marcus Garvey specifically, but Marcus Garvey had a problem with mixed race people.
Yeah,
he took, and Ben is like, oh, I take that like he was personally insulted by that because he is of mixed race. So again, I presume Ben identifies as black. But I don't want to just say that outright, because I haven't spoken to the man to know that for sure. But my point is he is of mixed race. But he plays himself in this book where his father is schooling him about Black revolutionary history in the United States. And what's interesting is that Ben, as he's kind of time shifting, he's going through time kind of like in a Christmas Carol sort of way, where he's an out-of-body observer in many of these moments, but reacting to it as if it's real, is overwhelmed at much of what he's learning as we are. He is. It's not as though he's sort of pontificating to us things that he thinks we should know because he knows them already. In the book, he is learning about many of the people and the history of Black culture himself, which I thought was interesting, right? Like, and I presume it's evocative of his own personal know about some of these things. He was older, is educated, maybe by his dad or maybe others. We'll hopefully find out. Get a chance to talk to him. And like you, Dap, I mean, a few of these chapters I was intimately familiar with, and a few I was not. So there's really there are six sort of segments of the book, and also what's interesting here is by definition he's looking at the more the violent uh, portion of Black history of this regard. Like he's this is a look at those who take up arms, right? Like, and that's in the, the name is double entendre. So this isn't a book that focuses on Malcolm. It doesn't really. Well, now Malcolm had his own bout with taking up arms, but my point is this doesn't. This touches on Martin, but not like in a meaning, like not in a huge way. Like Martin Luther King is not one of the main characters in this
Right.
sort of journey. Malcolm is not a main character in this journey. Again, they're mentioned. They're part of the tapestry, but Robert Charles. I think we start with Robert Charles, who was an early last century, like 1900 century, like early century New Orleans activist who I think again, to me, I was familiar with the story. He was being harassed by police in New Orleans, and he and his son, and he was carrying a gun and he shoots a police officer into self-defense, but then ends up going on the run and effectively doesn't end well for him. And then we learn about Robert Williams, who I was not all that familiar with. He was an NAACP member leader in North Carolina who was I guess a very public advocate for taking up arms against the KKK and white supremacy. That was sort of informative for me. I wasn't that familiar with his story. And then we moved to Assata Shakur, who actually just passed away. So I was quite familiar with Assata's journey. But I thought what was cool there is that Ben plays with the visual stylings of his stories in each of these chapters, and like with Assata, he drew it in like a cubist way, which I thought was a really interesting choice. And again, I hope we do get to talk to him because I'd love to know why he chose to draw cubist for Assata, who's probably, I think, the most well known, at least modern times, like the most well known of these people, because again, partly because she just passed away. And then we move on to Sanika Shakur, who no relation, interestingly, but who was a former gang member, Crip, who goes to prison and then becomes a black nationalist revolutionary while in prison. And then we move to one that I'm sure is near and dear to you and my memory banks, which is The Move, because I mean I lived through that, right? Growing up in Central New Jersey, I remember watching those newscasts live as Ramona, as Ramona Africa and the rest were dying as the police set their building on fire. So he discusses The Move, which is mid '80s sort of thing where 11 members of the Move organization were killed in a fire. And then last was Micah Johnson, who again probably most people have familiar with because he's the most modern. He was less than a decade ago. He's a former military veteran who. Or not a former. He was a military veteran of he fought in Afghanistan, and he unfortunately tragically killed 5 police officers in protest, from his perspective, to the death of Philandro Castile, which is actually how this book starts. This book starts with Ben sort of dealing with Philandro Castile's death in 2016. But Micah Johnson, I think, obviously tragically reacts by then killing 5 police officers and then losing his life in that process. So to your point, some of these stories were familiar to me, some were less familiar. I think a couple things about this book that really hit home for me. One, as you kind of alluded, there's a veracity to the takes where I think I really want to applaud Ben. He doesn't overly romanticize revolutionaries. He goes out of his way to present them in, I think, a very fair and balanced way. Meaning, while I think you are supposed to come away from this book appreciating the fight of Black Americans needing to constantly fight for their right to exist, right? I think that's obviously a clear overarching theme of this book. But in Ben's credit, he doesn't portray these people as perfect people that we should lionize, right, in the face of what they did. The maybe the underlying arc of their being revolutionaries and fighting for for the right of Black Americans to exist is to be applauded. In many cases, I think he does not hide from the fact that these were flawed human beings, right? Like he openly touches on the move while it was an absolutely tragedy where children died, but he also touches on the fact that the move was in many ways a cult with very, very problematic messaging and accusations of child abuse, right? Like it wasn't like a perfect organization. They didn't deserve to die in a fire, right? Like that was, but that doesn't make them human being. And and he makes the point again with Marcus Garvey that like while we can look back and say Marcus Garvey had well intentions on some levels, he was a homophobe and he was a person who vehemently disagreed with like even being like mixed race as being accepted. Like he wanted he wanted black Americans to move to their own country in Africa and basically live in isolation, much like white supremacists want to live in white, like he believed in black power and that black should live with only black people and away from white people entirely. So like, but my point here is that Ben like openly addresses that like not everything that these people that we should know about and understand their plight stood for was enviable or okay, right? Like, and I really appreciate that he took that balanced approach to this, presenting it this way. And then the other thing is I give him a ton of credit for somehow taking really dark, violent journeys that these people had and imbuing a ton of humor into this book, which sort of like I don't know, it's like cutting whiskey with water, right? Like when you're sipping it, like it helps you get through this tough. It's a tough read, to your point earlier, but he blends a lot of humorous moments, often through himself and his dad, into this, where it's like it makes it. It's almost like a palate cleanser, when we did our tasting menu, like where it's like it kind of cleans the palate so you can go back in for the bite, of something rich. And I just think it was a really well crafted experience in that regard, because the book isn't anywhere near as dour a read as you would think it is based on the subject matter. So yeah, I think it was deftly handled. I think Ben's arts style really works incredibly well here. I thought like it was super great the way he handled sound effects and word balloons and the use of color. These really huge, beautiful, bright pops of like primary red and pink, and I think it's a mastercraft in making a tough subject matter infinitely more accessible to a broad group of people who, in as much as if you're open to reading about this stuff. So masterful stuff. And to your point, I hope we do get a chance to have, I really would like to understand more his journey going to all this stuff, and like how much his dad is a real, like, I know he uses his dad in this book, but like, was that really his journey himself discovering a lot of this? Was it through his dad educating him, or was that just more of a narrative structure for the sake of this book? Right. So,
right. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, it definitely. I mean, it's getting it's from Pantheon Books, but yeah, it seems to be getting reviews that positive and yeah, I absolutely would say to check it out. I know when the list was posted on one of the first lists that started dropping out, was posted on the Slack recently. I know Hassan says he wants to get his hands on this. But yeah, I was delighted to see, because I think there was only like 6 books on that list anyway, and to see that this was one of them was great. But yeah, definitely, folks, if when you can, check it out for sure. I've had and it's just, and even there's so much more history that he could have chosen or went down different avenues. There were, he chose these specifically, and he even mentions, there's like a talk show type of event in one of the chapters, and there are even while he's working on the book, internally he's aware that there are other voices that aren't heard of in this book. So,
for sure. I don't know if you noticed, but like one thing I noticed that I thought was amazing was that with each sort of chapter that he takes on, he switches the voice so it's he does first person, he does third person, he does second person. Like it's like, and I assume that's intentional, but like it's not just like each chapter is structurally the same where it's just Ben Passmore himself, as a character narrating the story in the background. It's he changes the actual voice of the stories as well, which I thought was really a fascinating choice to do that. And to your point about this list that you just mentioned, that this is what you're referring to is the Publishers Weekly put out. They've already, I guess they want to get an early start. They put out their annual best books list, and Publishers Weekly covers all books, not just graphic novels, but their 6 best graphic novels of the year. I think maybe they called it best comics. I don't know. Were Black Arms to Hold You Up, the one we just talked about, Black Cohosh, Do Admit, The Mitford Sisters and Me, The Once and Future Riot, Spent, and Tongues, Volume 1. And outside of Tongues, Volume 1, which I had already read when it came out, I had not read the other 5, and I read all 5 this past week. So
nice.
I read all of them.
I did see, I did see your photo where I guess it was a really good mail day.
Yes,
it was. Nothing wrong with that.
And to be clear, this for my money, this is far and away the best of those 6 books.
Oh, nice. Okay.
Yeah. No. I think this if this is the list I have to choose from, and again, unfortunately, they got it wrong because Drome isn't on here, so I don't know what Publishers Weekly is doing. But based on the 6 that they're claiming to be the best comics, this one is the best.
Maybe that was on their fall list, and this is these 6 are for the winter.
Whatever. They done fucked up. They did.
They did.
You fucked up.
Oh, there was a recent Mr. Roger. I got to find out if Vince has watched it. I was dying. Let's see. That was. We also have. Let me get to the Slack list.
And shout out to Jonathan Wilbur, who was the one who made us aware of that comic book list.
Absolutely.
Long-time friend and patron.
It's always the good-looking ones.
He's a handsome devil. I believe that's his Slack name. He's a handsome devil, right? Because we always call him a handsome devil.
Bastard.
He is a handsome devil, though.
He is. I'll allow it. No, that's going to be Mania Travels. I did. It's not. Oh, I don't know. I'm not. I don't want to say I'm torturing myself, but I read the first 2 issues of the new current Marvel Knights: The World to Come tie-in Punisher series, written by Benjamin Percy, and your art is by, God forbid they had the pages. Julius Ota is your artist. Yen Nitro on colors, and
why you do this?
I read the red band versions, as if that makes a difference.
Why you do this
in books with no with no approved comics code, but it's because it's Punisher, and I just like you have to check out any certain new mutant book or new Avenger book. I have to.
I'm the only one of us that isn't talking about Age of Revelation. That's all I gotta say. They're both
and you're wrong though. That's the thing. This is wild. This is that now you're actually wrong at this point. Because yes, the ones I've read, I'm enjoying, but yeah. So it's weird. So the premise looks like so Frank wakes up on a fishing boat that is pulling into the harbor in New York, over by Brooklyn, and he's bloody and battered, and there's a fire. So he's got to figure out how to. He's able to get off the boat, makes his way to shore, where he's found by a elderly-ish, an old woman who's walking her dog, and Frank is there and wakes up, comes to, and she she goes to call for help. She takes out her flip phone, and Frank grabs it, throws it into the water. He's like, "No hospital. You're gonna take me to your house now." And he kind of he sews himself up, but he's got stitches in the back of his neck, because he wasn't shot there. Uh, he has no idea what his name is, and he's like, "Oh, I guess that's what happens when you get a bullet to your brain." And she's like, you didn't get shot there. You've just got you passed out, and then I went to sew up your head, but it was already done, and somebody fixed you up real good." And then all of a sudden Frank starts screaming. So before we find out why he's screaming, uh, earlier in the issue, Wilson Fisk, the Punisher, the Kingpin, is in a confessional, and he's talking to a priest, and he tells the priest, BT Dubs, I'm not here for me. I'm here because we're going to talk about you, Father O'Connor, and go ahead and take out what's underneath your bench, and it's a gun, and he says, when people are praying on those who come to the church for help, that's not something really I can stand. So you need to take care of that, because for the past 20 years, you've been using your position within international charities to traffic men, women, so on, into this fair city, into my city, obviously. So yeah, I'm not here for my sins. I'm here for yours. And Wilson leaves the booth, and then you hear the gunshot. Also, Tombstone is involved, and we're not really sure why yet. I don't know what he's looking for, but he's Tombstone's out for revenge. And the reason why Frank is all sewed up and doesn't remember his name is because the Kingpin has done something to him. So he pushes a button on his computer that says "Activate Punisher," and so now the Punisher is the Kingpin's pawn, and so whatever, basically, Kingpin is pulling the strings, and that's what and now Punisher is being used by the King. I mean, he's still doing the same thing, but now the Kingpin is using him to clean up the city, and so of course that's the only guy he can use, and so that's what's going to happen. But it turns out that there is one person who kind of set this up, and well, he didn't set it up, but Kingpin could not have done it without this person. He could not manipulate Frank. He could not use Frank the way he wants to use Frank unless he tapped into someone who knows Frank Castle better than anyone else. And that, of course, is Microchip. And so you see Micro, all eyes all wide open, Clockwork Orange style, strapped into a chair with his fingers and his ankles strapped down, his wrist and his ankles strapped down. His hands are over keyboards, and he's completely like all wired up, and I don't know if he's doing the controlling, if Kingpin is telling Micro what to do, what codes to put in, or if Micro's just making sure that either maybe Frank doesn't break free. But yeah, and so also Kingpin's doing some flagellation. He seems to. It's almost like he's punishing himself by letting Frank do this, because he's like, we're in this together, you and me, the White King and his Black Knight, and he's beating his back up, something fierce. It's I mean, I like Piercy. I've his Wolverine run. We've read things from Brendan Percy in the past. I don't know where this is going to land, and in the grand scheme of things, with as far as great Punisher stories, it's a Punisher story. It's a different take. I don't know how many more issues I'll stick with it, because it's not. It's still it's Frank Castle. He's evading police. He's going around killing human traffickers and drug pushers, and he's doing what he does. Although now he's doing it because Wilson Fisk is pushing buttons on a computer telling him what to do. There's not much of a difference other than the fact that they just kind of mix things up a little bit. I don't know if I'm at the point yet where I've read all the Punisher stories I kind of need to read right now, but I do like the art, though. The art, actually, that's what kept me coming back for the second issue, because Oda's art reminds me of Stefano Caselli's art and those old Avengers Initiative issues following Civil War. This was it's not. The faces are similar. Some of the way things are, the line work isn't exactly the same, but the expressions, the figure drawings, they remind me of Caselli, just not as maybe not as polished. But yeah, I decided to give the Punisher a shot. I guess I'm a well, no pun intended. I'm a glutton for punishment. I don't I'm not. It's a character that. I guess I just can't quit, but it is what it is. So yeah, I wanted to get that out of the way, just so that it doesn't taint our Indian travels.
Fair enough. So another shout out to one of our boos, kind of friends helping friends here, because we talked about Humanoids unfortunately going bankrupt, which is a heartbreaker. And then in our Slack channels, we talked about that. And then I mentioned one of our buddies and supporters, Mitchell, said, "Oh, what was that book that Woodrow talked about? Some months ago?" And it was Kaza. That was the Kaza book. And then he responded, "Oh, thanks. That was what I was looking for." And then he ordered the Kaza beautiful hardcover from Humanoids, because they're having a sale right now, sort of as they clear out their inventory. But then in his post where he said, "Oh, thanks for that, I ordered it," he also shared that he had ordered another book, which was Arzak, and he ordered a French edition that they had. And I thought, "Oh, that looks interesting." I'd read Arzak in many years ago in another form, like a kind of a. I mean, I'm just going to say trade paperback, more, but like a soft cover, kind of like those European style sort of soft cover, oversized novella type of a style. So I thought, oh, I don't have a hardcover of this. Let me check it out. And so I followed his lead, and I ordered from Humanoids the same thing he did, which is it is the French edition. So, but the thing is you say, well, I don't read French. No, the good news is Arzak is a wordless comic. So I was like, oh, what do I care that it's the French version? It's worthless, so I don't, no skin off my back. And it is absolutely gorgeous. It is a slipcase, but not in like the way that we normally think of, where slipcase is where you're pulling it out, and it's more of like a cover where the thing kind of sort of encapsulates the entire softcover volume, and then you have to slide the softcover volume out from the top or the bottom. So it's a different type of slipcase, but a slipcase nonetheless. But it was absolutely beautiful to revisit Arzak. I presume many people know what Arzak is, but for those that don't, it is one of the earliest published works by Mr. Jean Giraud, aka Mobius. It actually was put out through Metal Hurlant, which we've talked about a lot lately on the show, back in 1975. So Baby Woodrow wasn't even a year old at this point when this was coming out. But it is it's 4 individual stories. Arzak is the name of the lead character. But again, these are wordless comics, so we don't, all we know is that Arzak is a warrior of some import, who lives on an alien planet, and he's somewhat like a sentinel, and he's flying around on a pterodactyl-like creature, and he's going through relatively dangerous slash desolate, scapes, and we get four stories, and they're all kind of like plays on the name. The first one is called Arzak, as is the book itself. The second story is called Harzak, so with an H in front of it. The third story is called Arzak with instead of ending with a CH, ends with a K, and then the last one is called Harzak. So like again, Mobius being Mobius. But as with many things Mobius, I think the importance of this book, beyond the fact that it's a visual delight, is that this is really like patient zero of Mobius being Mobius. Like this is the thing that was kind of put Mobius on the map as the visual storyteller that we then came to know him as, and he to this day is viewed as one of the all-time greats. This is kind of the first thing that earned him that reputation. This came out almost 15 years before the Inkle, so this is early published Mobius. This is a book. These are works collectively that are massively inspirational to many of the storytellers that came after him. This is a book that I think served as the visual shorthand for many other works that we all love. Probably the most notable being Nausicaa. That's Miyazaki had openly credited many times over his career that Mobius was one of his gods and one of his main inspirations for becoming a cartoonist, and undeniably credits Arzak for being the visual catalyst for making Nausicaa of the Valley of the Wind. So greatness begets greatness. This also was the book that turned on people, like the heavy metal movie. Make of it what you will. I know there's plenty of reasons people detract from it, but nevertheless, the heavy metal movie, probably the most famous part of that is the final story, which is Tarna, and the Tarna that we see in the heavy metal movie is again unapologetically taken from Arzak visually, and there's just a million creators that have gone on to say that like they wouldn't be storytellers if it were not for Mobius, and in particular this book. It's wordless, like I said. So this is really just a chance to sit down and absorb Mobius as a illustrator in his greatness, and I just had a blast revisiting this. It's like you spend a minute or two on each page, just kind of taking it all in, and you move on. Kind of like getting back to what Vince was saying about Drome earlier, and then being evocative of the great European workers. Like this is not a book that you need to be too focused on the narrative. I don't think that's the point of the book. I think the point of the book is just to see what an amazing visual architect Mobius is and was. So you can still get this. This is if you just go to humanoids.com, they're having a sale. I don't yet know if many of their books are selling out because they're trying to clear out inventory. Hopefully by the time you're listening to this book is not yet sold out. And it wasn't really that expensive. I think it was like $30 for a slipcase hardcover. It was pretty reasonably priced. But absolutely worth your time. I mean, if your experiences with Mobius are begin and end with the Inkle, which is not a bad place to begin and end, this will be a great addition. If you're familiar with this stuff that was more traditional, like Blueberry, which actually came before this, this was the thing that got him out of doing conventional sequential storytelling into more experimental, and so I think this is a really important touchstone in the history of European comics, and you should own it if you don't. So
nice.
Yeah,
I will have to check that out. Love Mobius, and Damn, now I'm thinking about humanoids.
Yeah, man. Shout out to Humanoid. Rest in peace. Soon to rest in peace, at least.
Yeah. What else we
To be like
got?
that.
Jesus. I think I am. And Vince was right about the Superman Red and Blue special. The Michael Walsh story is the best out of the four. Although the story written by Rainbow Rowell and drawn by Sean Tormey is it is a it's one of my it's the kind of story that it's called Red Letter Days, and it's basically it is a day in the life of Clark and Lois at the Daily Planet. They're working on a story, and something's going on, so Superman has to leap into action. The next morning, we've got we see Lois get a phone call from John, from their son, wishing her a happy anniversary, and of course, Superman is out saving the day. Finally, is able to get home, and also kind of forgets that it's their anniversary. But he forgets because once he gets back to the office as Superman, there's a tip that they find out that Metropolis is just won a secret bid to host the Olympics. So she is she's trying to verify the source, and so Clark and Lois are now tracking down from the office leads on to confirm, and so she finally gets to scream stop the presses because they're ready to print the morning edition, but they want to confirm this story, so you see them both calling people up. Clark calls Mayor White, which then Lois grabs the phone and says, if you let the Gazette beat us to this, I'm knocking your picture off my desk. And there, it's a great little moment. It's I love the two of them working together. They finally get confirmation. Since Clark can type faster, he gets to write up the story, and she, even though at the start of this little tale, she mentions that she hates puns in headlines, but Clark is trying to win her over on using "Go for the Bold," and so they finish writing the article. She lets the presses run, and that's it for the end of the day. And so he's like, as they're getting ready to leave the office, he's like, I guess you don't want to. I don't think you want to fly home. And she goes, it's too cold. He goes, it's always too cold, or it's too hot. And then he realizes, because his watch alerts him that he missed their anniversary because he thought it was next week. And so she says, it's another day in their life. So that was my second favorite story, just because it was a nice little one-on-one with the two of them doing what they do, seeing them kick ass as far as reporters go. It wasn't really a Superman story, which was nice. But Tormey's art is sealed the deal for me on that one. The Walsh story that Vince likes was basically it was Superman doing his thing, saving the day here and there. There's a scene, there's a couple of panels where Superman takes care of some killer robots, and when he flies back to Metropolis, he stops and kind of hovers around LexCorp, and you see Lex standing at the window saying, "I know you can hear me. I had no involvement," and they're just kind of mean mugging each other. And Clark is late to the office, and he goes back to save the day after ditching a lunch date with Lois. And he talks about there's a kid who was climbing a construction site, and he falls, and Superman gets there just in time. Naturally, lets everybody know how irresponsible that was, and the kid, his friends are like, "Oh, it was a dare. We didn't think he really climbed it." And Superman's like, "Well, he did, and he almost died, and if I wasn't close enough, he would have." But and he relents a little bit, and he goes, "Listen, I know you guys are just having fun, but life is fragile, and every day is a gift. Savor these moments, remember them, and don't throw them away." And he flies off. There was an older man he had saved from a fire earlier, and the old man's kind of going in and out of consciousness, and he doesn't have much time left, and it doesn't seem that he has any family because he's here alone. So Superman stays with him, and you see the clock ticking away. And Superman's just sitting there holding the man's hand, apologizing that he wasn't fast enough. The old man says, "Thank you. I never thought I would fly," because obviously Superman flew him to the hospital. And his last words are basically saying, don't worry, everything is going to be. And he fades out. And then there's a cute. He's walking out of the hospital, and of course he's feeling beaten up, and that he can't save everybody, and there's a service dog, and of course, who trots over to Superman and cheers him up a bit, and then at the end he goes back home. Lois didn't feel like cooking, so there's pizza in the fridge. He's sitting there having a cold slice of pizza, and this is an older story because John's still he's an infant, so he says "I love you" to John, and he goes to bed, and he wasn't trying to wake Lois, of course, but it's she's always up, and they start to drift off, and then John starts crying in the crib. So lather, rinse, repeat. But I do like these anthologies. I think, especially when the writing and the art is on fire. As with all anthologies, not every story is going to be a hit. But I'll it was at least a 50% hit rate, so it's not horrible. It is still Superman, so I'm not too upset about it. But yeah, I definitely agree with Vince about the Walsh story being the highlight of the book. No doubt about it. And what else we got?
Hold on one second. Let me I know one of the books that I think is among the favorites collectively by our community is Assorted Crisis Events.
Yes.
We talked about a bunch of it. Yeah.
Oh, that's right. 6 came out today.
Yeah, I was going to say, and so 6 came out today, which we had, I think, a 3-month hiatus between 5 and 6. It was, 5 was the first arc. 5 had finished up the first arc, and then the trade came out. 6 is the start of a new arc. But it's, like in many ways, I think, no surprise. It's in many ways just sort of continuing a pace. I don't know that, we're not, it doesn't feel like dramatically different. It's not like we're completely shifting vibes. It very much feels like a continuation. But I don't have anything new to say about it relative to what the praise we've already given the series. I think, we've known Eric Zawadzki from very early in his career. I have proudly mentioned that his con banners is a commission he did for me of Phantomex. He is, he's another person who I thought was talented at Jump, but is displaying an aptitude as a storyteller. He's been a very accomplished draftsman but his storytelling and the way that he's playing with panel layouts and structure, and leading your eye in certain ways and emphasizing certain points and de-emphasizing others is really, really quite enviable in this book, in this series. And I think that issue 6 is just another piece of that. I would note that, much like we got in the first volume, it's interesting how they're playing with this concept of this like world where bad things keep happening because of time shifting, and there's this larger kind of narrative about that, and this one older gentleman who's like, appears to have playing a key role in all this, but we don't quite yet know why. But also, they're playing with these very universal life issues that I think are like it's the stealth. There's a stealth social commentary to this book, which is pretty fascinating. Like in the first arc, we had the one issue, of course, which is all about immigration and how that can, be well intended in concept, but then when push comes to shove, and actually you have immigrants rolling up to your country, or in the book's case, your town, it can get ugly quickly, because it's like a NIMBY, not my backyard. And then so this continues that, where it's like it kind of plays off of like, this idea of like, to me, I read it as like a commentary on people that have to deal with dementia, which is just a devastatingly sad reality for many people. I'm sure many listeners have either directly or through close family, generationally, have dealt with dementia or seen it happen. I know certainly my paternal grandfather, my dad's dad, had bad dementia, and I, when I was a kid, and I still remember it, talking about it decades later. So it's it's something, unfortunately, most of us are going to face in some way in our lives, either frankly because we get it ourselves, or because one of our people that we love and care about gets it. And sadly, there is no cure for dementia, right? There's it's to this point, there's been no noticeable no treatment to even really slow the progression of dementia. And this is an assorted crisis events take on dementia, where instead of dementia, a woman is dealing with the fact that her husband has this like, and I don't remember the name. It's like but it's temporal something, but it's like effectively like an assorted crisis events version of dementia. Instead of losing their memory, they keep time shifting into different ages of themselves. So like 1 minute, her husband's her husband. The next minute, he's a 5-year-old. The next day, he's a 90-year-old version of her husband, right? Like and the like the weirdness of that, though, is still hitting her in the same way that when you're dealing with a loved one having dementia. It's like incredibly heartbreaking, incredibly frustrating, incredibly like almost impossible to deal with, because you love this person and you want to care for them, but they're incapable of reciprocating that love to you in the given their current state. And it just it was really a fascinating look at just hat tip to Deniz and Eric for taking this unique world they've created of like time shifting apocalyptic reality that people are living through, but like layering in these really impactful social arcs that we have to deal with in our lives. And this, I mean, I don't know that I don't know, have recency bias have me say this is my favorite issue so far, but like to me it felt like an absolute grand slam, like welcome back, and like we're still at it. Like this series is not going to be, they didn't have like, we should all be so lucky as to have all of us have a great 5-issue arc of a comic in us. And if that's what they had, then it would have been great for them. But like clearly say in this world, and I was blown away by it. So yeah, man, like it's a great series, and all the flowers that people are heaping upon it, I think are very fair, deserving for sure.
It is a great series, and I know that one of my favorite issues from the first arc was the two universes that were two Earths that were extremely similar, separated by a doorway, and one became a worse version than the other over time. But that one felt it was topical. This issue 6, I fear, is gonna hit close to home to a degree. But yeah, it's wild that it's a series that doesn't there hasn't really been a filler, even though they're all kind of like done in ones. There really hasn't been anything that feels like a filler issue. It doesn't. The creative team is firing on all cylinders, and some of the stories, I think, based on where you're from or what you're going through, may hit harder than others. But there's something in each. Aside from maybe the first issue, which was, of course, trying to set things up, and it was unique in its own way. But every other issue, whether it was dealing with cancer or with politics, or just, but there's something. Every issue so far is it has the potential to be personal to the reader, and that can either make for a very entertaining read or a very uncomfortable read. But either way, it's a gorgeous looking book. I'll have the 6th issue read probably tomorrow, but knowing the subject matter might make it a little difficult to get through, but within the context of this universe, that's the sugar that'll help it go down a little bit, I think.
Absolutely, yeah.
And I think we can make our way to Art in Your Travels.
Word.
As always, as we said at the beginning of the episode, this was brought to you by cheapgraphicnovels.com, or you can get Mobile Suit Gundam, the Origin Deluxe Editions, like we're going to. You have a bunch of graphic novels, trade paperbacks, hardcovers. Place your order. If it's your first order, let Max know we sent you, and your next order, you will get your free shipping, and that's when you're going to stack up and fill out the library. You can find us on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, YouTube, anywhere you do get your podcasts. You can leave us a review at any places. We're on the socials, whether it's Instagram, Blue Sky, Facebook. Find us wherever. And in your travels, I waited for the last couple of issues before finishing Batman and Robin Year One. And man, what a ride. It's you had the general who was the quote unquote big bad at the start of this series. He meets a fate, and then you end up with a with a bunch of clay faces in high positions in Gotham City, and they've infiltrated all the offices. You don't know really who to trust, and Batman and Robin find out the hard way that perhaps Commissioner Gordon isn't all he appears to be. There's also a threat as the series wraps up that there's Bruce Wayne is involved, or apparently it's reported that Bruce Wayne is involved in some shady dealings. So the social worker, the child CPS, comes by and takes Dick and puts him in a foster home. And while Batman is out one night and he's spying on the family, Dick seems to be happy. And and Batman's like, listen, I've started as a solo act, and he's telling Alfred I might as well end up that's how I'm going to stay, because I had no right to try to I'm not a parent. I'm not somebody who can raise a kid. Why would I take somebody who's parent and think that I could put him in this world and have him exposed to all of this when he probably just wants a normal family. And Dick ends up sneaking out of the house, and he and Batman team up a little bit, and at the end of that night, Batman brings him back home, and he's just like, listen, this is the way it's going to be. But he does say that he says, listen, I am not going to stop fighting for you. I'm going to do everything I can because I want to be your guardian. I want to be your parent. So he says, listen, he says, I can't have you sneaking out. It's not fair to you new guardians. Miss Lynn says you belong here, and so do the courts. And Dick's like, wait, so that's it? It's over? And Dick's like, I thought we made a good team. And Batman's like, yeah, no, we made the best. And he says, but one last thing though, and take it to heart, I'm not giving up. And yes, eventually, the 3 weeks later, the courts, the judge, who had certain feelings about Bruce Wayne and didn't think he would be a fit father, since Bruce made his case, and obviously the charges against him were false. Miss Lynn's like, listen, I you're not who I thought you were, and everything, so I'm going to bat for you. And the judge, however he feels about Bruce Wayne, he respects and trusts Miss Lynn. So he's like, listen, we'll let you, we'll revisit this in a year, but for now, yes, you are Dick Grayson's ward. And then there's a really neat scene at the end where Gordon is letting everybody know, times are changing, and so sometimes Gotham City PD is going to need help, and the reporters are all like, so wait, so you guys are cool with vigilantes now? What the hell's going on? And he's like, listen, the cops are fine. Our cops do great work, and they're able to manage and take care of the crimes that they can take care of. But obviously, things are ramping up. We just had this whole thing with Clayface. We've got to worry about Two-Face. We've got other things going on. So sometimes there might be some dangers that our cops can't just handle. So we're going to go to the experts. And Batman and Robin step out of the spotlight from the bat signal, and we even see Batman smiling. I think Chris Samnee had a lot of fun, especially in the last couple of issues, because there are some scenes there's some panels that are just straight out of the 1960s show, where there was a moment where Batman and Robin are scaffolding down the side of a building. Batman's injured, and so Robin's able to take it a little easier, and he's kind of flipping between buildings across this alleyway, and then he realizes that Batman's kind of not as smooth as he normally is. So you see Dick kind of bracing him, and they're climbing down the building just like Adam West and Burt Ward would do on the old show when they would scaffold up and down a building, which was actually the floor. And then there's a panel where you see Batman and Robin shake hands, which is just right out of the last image from the opening of the TV show before you see the Batman logo. And if that's not what it's supposed to be, then Chris has to tell me, because that looks hella intentional. But it was a neat little moment. The series has been an absolute blast. I double dipped. The hardcover should be coming soon. I cannot wait to get my hands on it. Yeah, I absolutely loved the series for a variety of reasons. But yeah, so in your travels, even though I'm just talking about the last couple of issues, once the trade or hardcover, whichever you prefer, is available, get your hands on Batman and Robin Year One by Mark Waid, Chris Samnee, and Matheus Lopez.
There you go. Yeah, My Inner Travels is quite a departure from that. It's another one of the Comics Beat books, probably. Well, no, it's certainly my second favorite of the bunch. And that is called the book is called Black Cohosh, and it's written and drawn by Eagle Valiant Brosi. Some of you indie comics nerds who listen to us probably know Eagle. He's been putting out a comic zine called Scabies for many, many years. I think when this book was announced, many assumed it was going to be a collection of some of the Scabies strips, and we now know that is not in fact what this is. This was published by Drawn and Quarterly. Shout out to D&Q. I know it's going to come shock some of you. It's a coming of age book. I know, shocking that would read a coming of age comic. But it's a fascinating one on a lot of levels. So Eagle was raised in a commune, and this is a really deeply personal look at growing up as a kid who was, in a community that was supposed to be open and non-judgmental and loving. He had a pretty horrible experience because, I guess, like there's always outsiders in any group, even one that's sort of prides itself on being more inclusive, and he was that. He was a he was relatively soft-spoken, very. By his own admission, he had long hair. He had feminine features, such that even as a preteen, many people that met him presumed him to be a young woman, even though he is not. And most significantly, he had or at least the way he depicts it in the book. I don't know how much like this matches his actual reality or not, but he has in the book he has a incredibly strong speech impediment, such that most people don't understand anything he's saying, and so he often feels alienated because he speaks and no one can understand him, and as a result of that, not only is he bullied incessantly, but he is also not treated with grace and kindness by his teachers, by many adults, by his own father. His father views his speech impediment as a weakness, and is sort of like tries to like basically scream it out of him, and like that obviously doesn't work. And it's just his journey, and he's got this fascinating relationship with his parents. His mother is like a classic commune hippie, very loving, but also like conspiratorial and kind of believing that the world's out to get them. And but he loves her dearly, and she's the only one that like I think fully understands him and can understand the way he speaks and can communicate with him, and loves him unapologetically, and I think without unequivocally. I think everybody else at least in this book either doesn't love him or loves him with reservations, like the but. The other thing too is this is a book where I would say. I would challenge anybody that wants to check it out to look at some of the pages, go online and look at some of the preview pages. This is visually a challenging book, meaning that Eagle is not drawing in a refined manner, I think, by design. And I think that to put it in another way, the style of this book visually is one that I think 20 years ago I would have completely been uninterested in. It is... It's single line weight, black line work on white pages. The lines are very expressive, sketchy, loose, haphazard. I don't think that Eagle makes any attempt to adhere to any kind of rules when it comes to perspective or depth or anatomical correctness. This is indie expressive line work at its purest form, and I think you have to absorb this as the line work serving to express the story he's trying to get out of his head. This is the kind of art I wish Vince was something he would. I mean, if Vince hasn't read this, he would adore this book. I think this is the kind of art that he would gush about, because it is raw, and it's the kind of art that I think a lot of people would, I think, incorrectly say is bad art, because it looks immature, it looks unfinished, unrefined, unpolished, But again, I think that's the charm of it, especially given that this is about a point in his life when he was unfinished and unpolished and unrefined. So for me, it works very much. But again, I put the caveat out there that 15 years ago, I probably would have been like, nah, this book isn't for me because of the visuals. But if you're more open to that kind of expressive, loose, raw line work in the service of the story, then I think this is going to be more up your alley. But no, I thought it was fascinating, man. Like again, I don't. There's not there's not a grand sort of narrative takeaway to this. This is just him sharing his journey as someone who was very much felt like and probably actually was an outsider in a world that just had difficulty understanding him, and he felt alien because of it. And you know, the good news is I don't think he feels that way anymore. He's found a place in society, and he's found a place in his world, and is quite successful in his in his chosen pursuits. So I think it's one of those things that does have a happy ending. I know Dappy always loved the happy endings, but a really fascinating journey. You know, a really fascinating journey. And again, one of those books that is not going to be for everybody. I think this is for a small subset of you listening to this are going to vibe with this book. This isn't going to be universally, I think, adored. As I've said before, I would side eye anybody that reads Drome and doesn't like it. I wouldn't side eye you if this wasn't for you. This is definitely more of a specific subset of you that are gonna get value from this. But I am part of that subset, and I thought it was terrific, and I credit Comics Beat for recognizing this book. This is a far more challenging book than Drome would be. So yeah, so if you're adventurous and appreciate unique, very purely emotional storytelling, then do check out Black Cohosh by Eagle, Valiant, Brosi.
Nice. I will have to check it out. I got to see everything that was on that list too. I skimmed it. I got to look at it more thoroughly. And with that, folks.
Yeah. Yeah.
You were saying. I didn't mean to cut you off.
No, I was going to say. Yeah. Like I said, I mean the books are. Listen. This list of books are all non. Well, other than tongues, I keep because tongues is its own thing, which is kind of weird. It stands alone, but the other five, the five that I read this week, are all nonfiction biographical comics. Black Cohosh being autobiographical, Spent, which is Alison Bechdel's new one. Of course, all of her books are autobiographical. This is sort of a look at her current state of life, which is her and her wife living on a farm, raising goats and sort of trying to deal with the world that we live in right now as very progressive, ultra liberal people. The Once and Future Riot by Joe Sacco is as with all Joe Sacco, well, at least all that I've read, Joe Sacco comics, a really deep, fascinating look at a geopolitical reality going on in the world outside of the U.S. In this case, it's dealing with riots, mass riots in India, both past and present. And then the last one is Do Admit the Mitford Sisters and Me. Honestly, probably my least favorite, also by Drawn and Quarterly, and that is a look at the depending on the kind of history you're into. So I didn't know much about the Mitford Sisters, but apparently they're fairly infamous, and it's a book by Mimi Pond, who does it's a big book, and it takes a very exhaustive look at each of the sisters and their lives, and I didn't connect with that one as much. I think more because there's a sort of upstairs downstairs vibe to it, and it felt like kind of like reading like a Bronte book, and I'm that's not my kind of thing. So, but that being said, I mean it was a well done comic for sure. I don't necessarily care much. I didn't care much about the Mitford sisters myself, so I didn't really connect with them as people. But that being said, I mean it was a well done comic. So yeah, all very deserving of recognition. But I think in terms of ones that I connected with, it would be the Passmore book and the Black Cohosh. So.
Respect.
Yeah.
That is it for this week, my friends. We will be back next week with more good stuff to talk about. I am out of here. Enjoy the concert, Jason. Have a great time.
Thank you. Enjoy the medical exam.
Can't wait.
I'm sure.
So fucking hungry. We'll talk to you all soon, everybody. Love ya. Take care.
Yeah, I love y'all. Peace.
Bye.
That's it for that one.